Hi there and happy Easter. I'm Beth and this week I'm joining my lovely friend Marna from the Dolls Rescued channel in a little Easter themed collaboration. Marna contacted me and said she'd been looking at these articulated BJD Bunny models on the Thingiverse website for a while and wanted a project to make one for. She suggested a collaboration between us where we could each use our husbands' 3D printers to make the parts, paint them up and dress them. I agreed, of course, as I was already familiar with the bunny too. I'd watched the original delightful video where she shared the files for free, and then later Moonlight Jewel's remix of the files, adding more articulation, and then Dolly Pop's version, tweaking the design even more. It's Dolly Pop's version that we've printed out here, along with some eye bases that should fit our bunny's eyes. I had hubby print ours in resin, so it should be pretty smooth for the most part once all the supports have been removed. Once that's done, I will just need to do a little bit of sanding to smooth out the roughest areas. If you haven't already watched Marna's video, please make sure that you head on over after this one. I'll have her tagged and linked in the description box below. I haven't had any sneak peeks of her bunny yet, so I'm not sure if theirs will be bigger than the original files, if it'll be printed in FDM or resin, or what colour it'll be. I'm really excited to see it, so I'll be over on the Dolls Rescued channel watching their video today too. I used both hand sanding and an electric sander to work over all the parts. Unfortunately, there was some sort of layer shift or defect in the head part behind the eyes and around the cheeks area, so they needed much heavier sanding. Once done, I gave every piece a soapy water wash and let them dry. Over the years, I've collected various widths of round elastic for BJD stringing, so I'll use what I have on hand as needed. Some parts of the model will need a metal pin inserted to allow the elastic to turn back on itself and thread back through the limbs, the ears, hands and feet. The ears had a channel already moulded into the 3D model, but the hands and feet will need to have holes drilled first. I'll cut up a strong paper clip to act as the pins, and will add a touch of superglue to hold them in place. Here the ears are strung and are holding their position nicely. Next, I thread elastic through the upper torso and arms, tying a knot inside the torso once pulled tight. Oops! I accidentally chipped the very thin edge of the torso piece when I stretched the elastic to tie the knot. That's such a shame. I thread the legs into place and pull the excess elastic up through the body, up through the neck, and then through the head. I made a ring shape from wire to pass through the elastic and hold it in place within the head. I'll just need to glue magnets into the head cap, then it'll hold itself in place to close the head. I separate the main body parts, ready for some colouring with an airbrush. I'm borrowing my husband's airbrush paints and using my own cordless airbrush for this. I begin with some white colouring here and there, and once dried, I add in some buff brown colour, finishing off some areas of darker grey. On top of the somewhat flesh-coloured beige resin, the colours combine to give a kind of realistic colour palette. Once dried, I went in with a paintbrush and added a few hand-painted details to the paws, tail, face and ears. I sprayed the whole bunny with a few light coats of Warhammer's Citadel Munitorium matte varnish to seal everything in. Once all the main parts were strung together again, I used a couple of my watercolour pencils to draw in some details around the eyes. I went over the sketched-in eyeliner with a very small brush, some paint, and a could-have-been-steadier hand. I also painted the resin-printed eye bases white, ready to colour in. Since I'd already borrowed them, I continued using hubby's paints for the eyes, starting with a dark brown base coat, then painting in little lines of lighter and lighter brown around the lower half of the iris. Once dried, I added a few drops of UV resin to each eye, curing it before using a dotting tool to paint in the black pupils. I added a little more resin to them, gradually filling the deep impressions. I sprinkled a tiny amount of glitter into the next layer of resin, just around the bottom of the iris. Little by little, I added more resin until the eyes were fully domed. I brushed a little UV nail top coat over the whole surface and called it good. Using a little blue tack at first, with more added later, I then set each eye into position in the head. I cut short lengths of brown eyelashes and glued them to the upper eye with a little tacky glue. I was careful to have them pointing outwards as they dried, so they'd look more natural. Marna and I will be dressing up our little 3D printed bunnies. I checked my stash for anything specifically Easter themed I might want to include, but I only had some printed ribbon. I sketched out a few ideas on my iPad, wondering if I should go quite feminine or smartly dressed for my bunny. In the end, I decided that my personal favourite and a style I felt suited the unusual body shape of the bunny best was the layered top and dungarees. I took some measurements and did my best to design dungarees that would pull up the body, not hide the bunny's feet, and allow the tail to poke out. This oddly shaped template was what I came up with. A quick look in my cosy fabric stash had me choose this fascinating crinkled stuff, It has a slight stretch to it and is a little bouncy at such a small scale, but I really wanted to try it out. It wasn't originally my intention to make this a hand sewing challenge or anything, but perhaps since it's a one-off and because I didn't think the crinkly fabric would iron well, I decided that I'd fully hand sew the outfit for my little bunny. The front centre seam was first, with a back stitch, followed by 2 rows of top stitching to neaten up those bouncy edges. I then turned in and hand stitched all of the upper edges. I closed in the back seam and test fit the dungarees to make sure it would fit. I was really pleased that the little V-shaped notch I had planned for the bunny's tail worked out perfectly. I could then turn up and hem the trouser legs and close up the inseam before turning them right side out. I think these will look super cute with a few more details. I have some narrow leather strips that I planned to use for shoulder straps, but the leather was too thick. I busted out my leather skiving device and used it to gently shave away the underside of the leather, bit by bit, until it was thinner and more suitable for the scale of the bunny. I very carefully inserted my tiniest rivets to connect the straps to the front of the dungarees. Another test fit, and once I've made the bunny's top, I'll position and stitch on the other ends of these shoulder straps. A little front pocket was put together and hand-stitched onto the front of the dungarees, and afterwards I looked out some felt scraps and snipped out some egg shapes and tiny details to decorate them with. These eggs and details were joined and affixed with fabric glue. A few more coloured details were expertly positioned just off screen, tying the design together and finishing the dungarees for now. From my measurements, I drafted a very simple one-piece top. Using some broderie anglaise, I cut out the shape. I use double-sided quilting tape to hem the sleeves and then hand stitch them to secure. I layer a piece of soft interfacing over the neck hole and hand stitch it as small and tight as I could before trimming away the excess and turning the interfacing to the inside of the top. A little more hand stitching around the rear closure and neckline has everything sitting nice and flat. I close in each side, forming the short sleeves, and finally turn and sew the lower hem. I kept the closure very simple, stitching on a snap fastening. And here are the main pieces of my bunny's outfit, made and modelled. I'm really pleased with the different textures and materials throughout the outfit. The hand stitching adds so much charm and character. And the way the top stops just short of the tail and the dungarees allow it to poke out makes me so happy. I poked 2 holes in each shoulder strap to allow me to stitch them in place, and I think both the front and back of this little bunny look adorable. I couldn't be doing another Easter video and still not make use of the printed ribbon I have, so I put together a little ribbon bow using the Easter egg printed ribbon and affixed it to the ear with a little white tack. I love how expressive bunny ears are. I also took this opportunity to change the length of the wooden dowel on this lovely Easter doll stand that Marna's hubby Darren had 3D printed a long while back. It says Hoppy Easter and actually fits my bunny really well, although the tail does get in the way of the wooden dowel a bit. I also looked out a couple more accessories that I thought would suit my bunny. One is a tiny leather pouch left over from my steampunk Barbie outfit way back in September 2021. It will just fit around Bunny's waist and give them somewhere to stash snacks. The other is one of my handmade wooden acorn handbags. All sold out for now, but drop me a comment if you'd like me to bring them back. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and please let me welcome 4 Princess O Button 6, Old Ugly Entwife, and Alejandra Villarreal. They're the newest members of my Patreon supporters who get behind the scenes sneak peeks, free sewing patterns and other exclusive content over there. Link in the description if you want to check it out. Anyone interested in commissioning a custom doll should also check out the custom doll tier of my Patreon. They also get to see the progress of other custom dolls in the works. I would love to know what you thought of today's bunny project in the comments down below. What was your favourite part? And would you, or do you already, have a little bunny BJD of your own? This little character was a pleasure to put together and customise, and I can't wait to see how Marna's bunny has come together. Let's head there now and check out their video too. Thank you, Marna and Darren, for collaborating with me today. Thanks to my hubby Craig for printing out this little cutie, and thank you all for watching today. Have a great day wherever you are. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!